Welcome. Before we dive into the slides, it's crucial to set the stage for understanding the full story behind the 2025 Nobel Peace Prize announcement, why it matters internationally, and why former President Donald Trump's reaction is such a newsworthy moment. This opening will provide the historical, political, and media context, as well as a detailed examination of Trump's aspirations, his previous attempts, and how this fits into the global perception of U.S. leadership. The Nobel Peace Prize is, without a doubt, one of the most prestigious international awards in the world. Since its establishment in 1901 by Alfred Nobel, it has recognized individuals and organizations who have made extraordinary contributions to peace, human rights, and diplomacy. Unlike many awards, the Nobel Peace Prize carries not only a symbolic value, but also a tangible impact on political legitimacy, international reputation, and global influence. Over the past century, laureates have included figures such as Martin Luther King Jr., Nelson Mandela, Malala Yousafzai, and U.S. presidents like Theodore Roosevelt, Woodrow Wilson, Jimmy Carter, and Barack Obama. Each award reflects both the recipient's achievements and the global community's recognition of their role in shaping diplomacy and peace. In 2025, the Nobel Peace Prize went to Maria Corina Machado, a Venezuelan opposition leader. Machado has been a tireless advocate for democracy and civil rights in Venezuela, a country that has experienced significant political turmoil under successive authoritarian regimes. She has risked personal safety and professional security to challenge entrenched power structures, organize grassroots movements, and advocate for the rule of law and transparency. Her work represents a continuation of the Nobel Committee's long-standing focus on courageous, principled action for human rights. This year's decision highlights the committee's commitment to recognizing figures working in environments where political oppression is intense, and where their activism directly contributes to civic freedoms and democratic governance. Enter Donald Trump. For years, Trump has publicly expressed a strong desire to win the Nobel Peace Prize. He has consistently positioned himself as a global peacemaker, citing achievements such as the Abraham Accords, diplomatic engagements with North Korea, and attempts to mediate conflicts in the Middle East and elsewhere. Trump has frequently leveraged this narrative to enhance his image domestically, branding himself as someone capable of negotiating peace where previous administrations could not. Social media posts, interviews, and speeches from his post-presidency period often highlight his self-proclaimed diplomatic successes. He has openly criticized previous laureates, at times suggesting that he deserved recognition ahead of them, and has made public statements implying that global leaders and institutions owe him acknowledgement for his actions. The 2025 announcement, however, shattered this long-standing aspiration. Not only did Trump fail to secure the award, but the Nobel Committee's choice of Machado also sent a subtle but clear message. International recognition is based on verifiable, sustained, and courageous contributions to peace, rather than self-promotion, domestic popularity, or political clout. This outcome underscores the distinction between perceived influence and actual impact, a theme central to understanding both Trump's political branding and the broader mechanics of international awards. Trump's reaction was predictable, yet remarkable in its intensity. According to multiple credible sources, including Norwegian and U.S. journalists, Trump was reportedly furious upon learning that he would not be receiving the award. His frustration was magnified by the fact that he had previously lobbied for the prize, reaching out to officials, allies, and even foreign ministers to inquire about his chances. This level of personal involvement in attempting to secure the Nobel Prize is unusual for a former president, as the committee traditionally operates independently and does not entertain lobbying efforts. Trump's persistence illustrates both his determination and his belief in his own narrative as a global peacemaker. It also highlights a broader phenomenon. In the modern era, where media, diplomacy, and public image intertwine, the perception of international influence can sometimes rival or even exceed actual achievements in the eyes of the public. To understand why this moment is significant, it is essential to consider the media landscape. The Nobel Peace Prize announcement is covered by hundreds of news outlets worldwide, and social media amplifies every development almost instantaneously. In 2025, nearly 100 outlets broadcast the announcement live, from traditional networks like CNN, BBC, and Al Jazeera, to emerging platforms delivering real-time updates to millions. Social media platforms such as X, formerly Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok provided rapid commentary, memes, and viral content analyzing Trump's likely reaction. Analysts and commentators immediately juxtaposed Machado's accomplishments with Trump's self-proclaimed peacemaking efforts, sparking debates about legitimacy, historical impact, and the meaning of the Nobel Prize in the 21st century. Another interesting angle is the intersection of politics and digital technology. In a unique twist, the Israeli Prime Minister's office reportedly posted an AI-generated image of Trump receiving the Nobel Peace Prize, which quickly went viral. The image served as both satire and political commentary, emphasizing how modern narratives can be constructed and circulated even before official events occur. This raises intriguing questions about the nature of perception and reality in global politics. How much does digital amplification influence public opinion, and how much does it impact the historical record? While the Nobel Committee's decision remains strictly independent, the media frenzy created a perception that Trump was still a central figure in this year's Nobel discourse, demonstrating the power of narrative in shaping global attention. Historical context adds another layer of understanding. Only 4 U.S. presidents have ever won the Nobel Peace Prize: Theodore Roosevelt, who mediated the Russo-Japanese War; Woodrow Wilson, who established the League of Nations; Jimmy Carter, recognized for human rights advocacy and Middle East peace efforts; and Barack Obama, who won for nuclear non-proliferation diplomacy. Each laureate's recognition reflects measurable, tangible impact on peace and international cooperation. In contrast, Trump's peace initiatives, while high-profile, have been subject to intense debate regarding their long-term efficacy, verifiability, and global reception. His repeated failures to secure the Nobel Peace Prize thus reflect both the committee's rigorous criteria and the international community's critical assessment of political accomplishments. Beyond individual ego and historical legacy, the 2025 announcement also highlights broader themes in global diplomacy. It illustrates how international recognition, soft power, and historical memory interact with domestic political narratives. Trump's repeated disappointment reinforces the idea that global institutions operate on principles of accountability, transparency, and demonstrated impact, rather than celebrity status or unilateral claims of achievement. For audiences and analysts alike, this event is a reminder that the modern world still respects structured, verifiable contributions to peace, even in an era dominated by media spectacle and personality-driven politics. Finally, the opening underscores a crucial lesson for our discussion today. The 2025 Nobel Peace Prize story is not simply about Trump or Machado. It's about how power, perception, and achievement intersect on the world stage. It demonstrates the tension between self-perceived influence and externally validated accomplishments. It highlights the role of media, AI, and global communication in shaping political narratives. And it sets the stage for examining the 5 key slides in this presentation, where we will explore the immediate news, Trump's reaction, political drama, committee rationale, and the larger implications for U.S. leadership and international diplomacy. Good morning, afternoon, everyone. Let's start with today's headline. The 2025 Nobel Peace Prize has been awarded, and it has sent ripples across global political circles. The winner is Maria Corina Machado, a Venezuelan opposition leader, recognized for her courageous and persistent efforts to promote democracy and civil rights in a country that has faced political turmoil and authoritarian governance for decades. This announcement was broadcast live by nearly 100 media outlets worldwide, from CNN to BBC, Reuters to Al Jazeera, making it one of the most watched Nobel ceremonies in recent memory. For years, former U.S. President Donald Trump has publicly expressed a desire to win the Nobel Peace Prize. He has frequently mentioned in speeches, interviews, and social media posts that he considers himself a major peacemaker on the global stage. In fact, Trump has highlighted his role in mediating the Abraham Accords, advancing Middle East diplomacy, and engaging in negotiations with North Korea, portraying himself as someone deserving of international recognition. Yet, in 2025, his dream is once again denied. It's important to contextualize why this matters. The Nobel Peace Prize isn't just a symbolic award. It reflects global recognition of leadership in peace and diplomacy. Winning it can bolster a political figure's credibility, enhance soft power, and shape historical legacy. In Trump's case, the denial is particularly salient because of his consistent self-branding as the peace president, and it also happens against a backdrop of tense global politics, rising authoritarianism, and shifting alliances. The immediate market and media reaction was predictable. The story dominated political news cycles, social media, and even financial reporting, given Trump's continued influence on U.S. politics and the perception that any setback for him can influence policy discussions indirectly. In short, this first slide sets the stage. Trump's long-standing aspiration has been frustrated yet again, while the Nobel Committee honors another figure shaping democracy in the Americas. Moving on to slide 2, let's examine Trump's reaction. According to multiple credible sources, including journalists in Washington and Oslo, Trump was reportedly furious upon learning that he would not receive the award. His disappointment was compounded because he had publicly and privately lobbied for it, demonstrating unusual persistence. Notably, months before the announcement, he even contacted Norway's finance minister to inquire about his chances, a move that is highly unorthodox for former presidents and underscores his personal investment in this accolade. Trump has long maintained that he has been a peacemaker on the global stage. He frequently cites achievements such as mediating the Abraham Accords, negotiating high-profile trade deals, and engaging in diplomacy with North Korea. His rhetoric often frames these accomplishments as unprecedented in U.S. history, claiming that, "We solved 7 wars, nearly the 8th. No one in history has done that." This self-portrayal contrasts sharply with the Nobel Committee's independent evaluation, which is intended to remain detached from political self-promotion. Interestingly, Trump had apparently hinted for months that October 10th was his big day for the prize. This anticipation created a media spectacle as journalists speculated whether he would succeed and analyzed his past claims in a skeptical light. The public's interest highlights a cultural phenomenon. In the era of social media, the Nobel Peace Prize has become not only a recognition of diplomatic achievement, but also a measure of public influence and narrative control. In sum, slide 2 emphasizes the personal dimension: Trump's ego, disappointment, and ongoing efforts to assert his global peacemaker identity. For audiences, this sets up the contrast between the committee's judgment and Trump's self-perception, which becomes a key theme in the larger discussion about politics, media, and legacy. Slide 3 focuses on the political drama and media frenzy surrounding the 2025 Nobel Peace Prize announcement. European media outlets describe this particular award as the most anticipated peace prize in years. That anticipation wasn't purely academic. It involved months of speculation about Trump's possible nomination, lobbying efforts by his supporters, and the unique geopolitical context of 2025, which included ongoing conflicts in Gaza, Ukraine, and Venezuela. One fascinating aspect was Trump's alleged attempts to influence the outcome indirectly. Reports indicate that he used diplomatic channels to lobby for support, while international figures like Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu even submitted letters nominating Trump for consideration. The intersection of diplomacy, lobbying, and media coverage underscores a larger trend. In the digital age, major international awards are not merely bureaucratic processes, they are media spectacles with political ramifications. Adding another layer of surrealism, the Israeli Prime Minister's office posted an AI-generated photo of Trump receiving the Nobel Peace Prize. This image went viral on social media, creating memes, debates, and even political commentary, further amplifying public attention. Here we see how technology, media, and political branding intersect. The narrative of Trump as a potential Nobel laureate existed independently of the committee's decision, demonstrating the power of perception in modern geopolitics. Additionally, Trump's presence in global discourse, even as a former president, ensures that any development involving him is instantaneously amplified, whether it's through traditional outlets or social media platforms like X, formerly Twitter. The global media buzz highlights the prize's dual role. It's both a legitimate recognition of peace efforts and a stage for political theater. Slide 4 addresses the Nobel Committee's independence and rationale. It's crucial to understand that the Norwegian Nobel Committee finalizes its decisions weeks in advance. In 2025, the committee had already selected Maria Corina Machado before Trump finalized his Gaza ceasefire deal, signaling that their decision was unaffected by last-minute diplomatic maneuvers or lobbying. The committee emphasized independence from politics, issuing statements to remind the public and media that external pressure, celebrity status, or high-profile lobbying does not sway their judgment. This principle preserves the credibility of the Nobel Peace Prize, particularly when candidates include politically polarizing figures like Trump. Only 22% of Americans reportedly believed Trump deserved the award, a strikingly low figure that underscores the global skepticism toward awarding controversial or divisive figures. Experts highlight that Trump's repeated losses are indicative of a broader pattern. While he portrays himself as a peacemaker, the committee prioritizes demonstrable, long-term, and often non-US-centric contributions to peace. Trump's claim of mediating 7 conflicts may resonate domestically, but the international community, including Nobel evaluators, tends to weigh structural, verifiable impact over political rhetoric or personal branding. This slide also invites reflection on the role of public opinion versus institutional decision-making. Trump's repeated attempts to influence or claim credit for peace efforts illustrate a tension, the difference between perceived achievement and recognized achievement. For audiences, this provides a cautionary lesson in evaluating political claims critically and understanding how formal institutions like the Nobel Committee operate independently of media narratives or celebrity lobbying. Finally, Slide 5 situates the story in a broader historical and political context. Only 4 U.S. presidents have ever won the Nobel Peace Prize: Theodore Roosevelt, Woodrow Wilson, Barack Obama, and Jimmy Carter. Each award recognized distinct contributions. Roosevelt for mediation in the Russo-Japanese War, Wilson for establishing the League of Nations, Carter for human rights and diplomacy in the Middle East, and Obama for nuclear non-proliferation and multilateral diplomacy. In contrast, Trump has repeatedly positioned himself as a comparable peacemaker, but has yet to receive formal recognition, highlighting the gap between self-perception and international validation. Trump continues to brand himself as the peace president, emphasizing his achievements in the Middle East, North Korea, and other conflict zones. His colorful rhetoric, such as claiming that if he were Obama, he would have won in 10 seconds, reflects both his confidence and a persistent attempt to control the narrative around his legacy. From a media perspective, the 2025 Nobel Peace Prize ceremony demonstrates how global awards have evolved into political theater. The combination of Trump's reactions, AI-generated imagery, international lobbying, and social media buzz turns what was once a quiet, symbolic event into a highly publicized spectacle with geopolitical implications. For audiences, the lesson is clear. Major recognitions like the Nobel Prize are not merely symbolic. They intersect with politics, media, and public perception, shaping both historical memory and contemporary discourse. Finally, this slide underscores the recurring tension in U.S. politics and global diplomacy, how domestic narratives interact with international recognition. Trump's story illustrates that even powerful figures cannot guarantee awards based solely on influence or self-promotion. True recognition, especially on the world stage, requires sustained, verifiable impact that transcends media and personal branding.